Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Just wanted to come back and chat with you a little bit more about life and maybe a little bit more finance talk as well. So, there are many different strategies that you can take when it comes to your investments, in particular in real estate. Okay. Now, principally, what is done by most, at least small-time real estate investors, is to garner as much leverage as is possible, depending on what mortgage companies you go through or what mortgage options you have available to you. And what leverage is, I've explained this in a previous video, but I'll explain it here again. So let's say that you are trying to buy a $100,000 property, and this is going to be a first-time home buyer loan that you're trying to get, so they tell you have to put 10% down. If it were to be an investment property, for instance, it would be 25%, at least for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans. But for a first-time home buyer, you can do it with as little as 5%, and if you do an FHA, 3.5%, and if you have a VA loan, you don't have to pay any money down. But let's say you do 10% down. Okay, so that means you put $10,000 into the property, and you have a $90,000 loan. So you have 10x leverage. The total amount of leverage you have, total amount of debt that you have, is $90,000 for a $10,000 down payment. Okay. Overall price of the property was $100,000, so you got 10 times the amount of property for the amount of money you put into it. So therefore 10x leverage. Okay. So if you wait a year, let's say, based upon typical appreciation rates, the property gains $3,000 in value. So you go from $100,000 at the beginning of the year to $103,000 at the beginning of the next year, is what the property is now worth. You put $10,000 into the property plus whatever principal you've paid down on the mortgage since then, which would probably be around, let's say $1,000 bucks. So $11,000 you got into the property, and you didn't gain $3,000 on $100,000. You gained $3,000 on $11,000. That means that you went to about, if it were just $10,000, you had 30% growth instead of the typical 3% that you would have expected if you owned the property outright. And this is the way people, real estate entrepreneurs, really whether big or small, but if you're a person like the president, for instance, he has very little leverage. I don't know exactly what his balance sheet looks like, but what he was saying in one of his sit-down discussions, what was supposed to be a debate, is that he only has like $400 million something worth of leverage, and he's got billions of dollars worth of real estate. So that means he has very little leverage. It's a very good situation for him. It means he owns most of his properties outright. That's pretty cool. So there are multiple different strategies you can take. One strategy is to get the loans so that you can have control over the property and you own it. Even though you're paying to the bank, you technically own the property, you have the deed, and just pay it off over time. If you do that, then there's a certain optimization point that you'll hit where you maximize the amount of profit you can get from the property, okay? Or percentage gain based upon the money that you've put in. And that's really what you're looking for, percentage gain. If you want to grow as a company very fast, if you want to build your net worth very fast. To give you an example, let's say that you gain 1% in your portfolio per day for an entire year. That portfolio will have grown 37.7 times. So if you had $100,000 in, multiply that by 37.7, and there you go. What is that? 3.7 million, something like that. If you gained 10% over the course of a year, obviously that's growing a lot less rapidly. So compound interest is one thing. If you gained 1% over the course of a year, that's what, $100, or what is that, $1,000? Sorry, you get my point. Sorry, there's some distracting sounds right now. But if you're not taken by that idea necessarily of holding on to leverage to maximize your percentage gain, and you have enough worth in the properties now that you've already gotten, that you already have control over, to live off of comfortably if you were to pay off all the properties, that's another strategy to think about. You have less leverage, and at least with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, you are only allowed to have up to 10 properties that are being leveraged at any particular time. You'd have to go into portfolio loans and commercial loans after that if you wanted to get more properties beyond 10. But let's say your strategy is just to pay the properties off when you have the money, or to pay them off super rapidly. So let's say me, for instance. I have 16 units, okay, in various parts of the country. So with those 16 units, I am able to, doing short-term rentals on a quarter of my properties, I am able to profit between $3,500 to $5,000 a month after all expenses. And then if I hold on to the CapEx and the property maintenance fees, that's another thing entirely. But you're not supposed to dip into that if you want the company to work properly. So between $3,500 to $5,000 a month of profit, depending on the time of year and how many guests I have in my Airbnbs. Okay. If I were to pay off every property in full, I would be making roughly $10,000 per month of profit. Okay, after utilities and paying property taxes and things of that nature, property maintenance, I'd be making about $10,000 a month in profit. Okay, that is money that I could live on for the rest of my life. It's going to increase with inflation, and I own those properties. They are actual physical places that I own, and I'm making $10,000 a month. I wouldn't have to get any other job ever. I honestly don't have to do that even right now with my current strategy, but it's a lot tighter in this situation. So if you have, at least for me, if I get the opportunity in the future to pay off all the properties in full more rapidly than was originally anticipated, let's say within 2 years, then I'm probably going to do that. Okay, it's just something to consider. Also, there is the element of living in an unstable world, not knowing what the future holds and things of that nature. And it seems like that never ends, but it's just been getting worse and worse and worse over the past few years. So I honestly don't know when. Sorry, that's my stomach, and I guess I need some food. I don't know when it's going to end. I don't know if. Honestly, hard times always end, but it just takes a while. So, there you go. Something to think about. You guys have a good day.